Bonjour, bienvenue, Korean in Japan, Sekeijin. 안녕하세요, 케이진입니다. So today I came to Takao-san. Ta-da! So this is my first time to go out after all the corona thing, and yeah, it's pretty refreshing. But today's topic is not about Takao-san. Today I'm going to talk about which one is easier to learn, Korean or Japanese. This is one of the most common questions, and I'm going to talk about it during my hiking. So let's go! Oh, this one is so cute. Wow, my face is so red. So when you think about writing and reading, Korean is definitely easier because of the writing system. Hangul is just like the English alphabet. So in English alphabet, if it's S-A-N, the pronunciation is san, right? An, san, and it's exactly the same in the Korean language. If the alphabet is S, an, like this, then it's san. But in Japanese, there are 3 different kinds of alphabet, which is hiragana and katakana and kanji. These are confusing for foreigners. Hiragana is default alphabet. When you use the Japanese keyboard, you will see hiragana first. It's not really difficult to learn, so once you get used to it, you can memorize it. The next one is katakana, which is used for the foreign language usually, and not as commonly used as hiragana, so people find it hard to memorize. I saw lots of foreigners still can't read katakana, and same to me, if some words are written in hiragana or katakana, I read hiragana sentence faster than katakana sentence. Wow, it's tough! And the hardest part for foreigners is kanji, which has thousands of letters. So each letter has different shape. So unfortunately, you have to memorize everything. Of course, there are letters that are commonly used, but there are still uncommon ones too. Japanese names consist of kanji letters. And when you register for a website, you have to write the kanji and how to read, because even for Japanese people, they cannot read kanji sometimes. One kanji has lots of ways to read. For example, if there is this kanji, this means person, and it can be read as hito or jin or nin. So once you get used to the Japanese alphabet, you will know which one you will choose. But for beginners, you have no sense which one to use. That is very difficult for foreigners. I lived in Japan for 7-8 years, but still, the hardest part for me is kanji. Anyway, the hiking is harder. I'll talk about the next thing later. And the next thing that I want to talk about is the pronunciation, which is related to the listening and speaking. So when you compare it, I would say Japanese is easier because it just has 5 vowel sounds. A, I, U, E, O. But in Korea, we have lots of different vowels that doesn't exist in Japanese. A, ya, o, yo, o, yo, u, yu, u, i. So these are the basic vowels, and you can even combine those, such as u, i as we, u, i as we, o, e as we. Definitely there are much more vowel sounds which make harder to learn. Especially foreigners find it hard to pronounce O sound O. It's not A, it's not O, it's O. And U sound, which doesn't exist in English. And I don't think it exists in French either. And also, Korean people speak pretty fast. And even though Japanese people speak fast, there are just 5 vowel sounds. So for you, it's easy to pick up some words. But Korean people speak fast. And since there are lots of vowels, we don't always pronounce them correctly. So we just pronounce it like blurrily. So sometimes it's hard for foreigners to pick it up. The Korean language has even more consonant sound. For example, ka, ka, ka. I think French people can pronounce these 3, but in English there's no difference. Ka, ka, ka. Because in French there is 4 quatre, 4. So cat is similar to Korean g sound. For example, if it's 자다, that means to sleep. And if it's 차다, it means cold. And if you say 짜다, that means salty. So 차다, 짜다, these sounds very similar, but it means different because there are more vowel sounds and more consonant sound that doesn't exist in English and French. I would say Korean is harder to pronounce. Of course, there are some tricks to pronounce this, but since it's not a Korean class, I'm not going to explain about that. Can you see this? So this is the top of the mountain. I did it! Going down is easier. Next is grammar. Grammar, I would say, is Thai. Both of them are difficult. They have pretty similar grammar structure, which is completely different from English and French. So English and French are SVO language, while Korean and Japanese are SOV language. The word order is different, and also since it's very different language, the concept is different too. There are lots of grammar structure that you cannot really translate into English and French. For example, there is verb ending, and which makes nuance in Korean and Japanese. But if you strictly compare, I would say Korean is a bit harder because Korean language has lots of exceptions when you conjugate verbs. So I feel like there are a little bit more things that you have to memorize. And also Korean has more politeness level, which confuse foreigners a lot. And sometimes they don't know which one to use in which situation. But on the other hand, Japanese has grammar rules that don't exist in Korean. So I would say it's Thai. But again, Korean and Japanese languages are different and both of them are difficult for English and French speakers. So, in conclusion, which one is easier? I taught Japanese and Korean to foreign students, and in my experience, Japanese is easier for beginner level because the pronunciation is easy, and in the beginner level you don't really have to learn lots of kanji. But as time goes by, your life gets harder because of kanji. So when it becomes advanced or intermediate or advanced level, Korean will be much easier. Once you learn the alphabet, you can read everything. So, well, if you ask me which one you should learn, how much do you want to put your effort? Do you just want to learn some basic level, basic phrases like hello, thank you, sorry? Then Japanese would be definitely easier. But if you think language learning is lifelong marathon, then Korean will be easier. But again, please know that this is just my personal experience. So it really depends on your ability. But in general, when I see lots of foreign students I've taught, then that's my conclusion. Oh, this is nice view. Let me show it to you. Ta-da! Oh, my camera doesn't catch it. So I'm back. It's not really hard mountain, so it was okay. It was really fun. It's really good that I finally came out. In front of the station, there are lots of omiyage, which is gift. There are some rice snacks or some side dishes using the traditional ingredient in this area. When Japanese people go hiking, they eat soba, but I didn't have it today. Itadakimasu. 美味しい。あ、たこ焼きが入ってるか。せんべいとたこ焼き美味しい。So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to give like a vote. See you in my next video. Bye bye. 봉주, 봉주, 봉주. 아.